Hey guys, this is another video for our Buying a House in Japan playlist. It's probably going to be of interest to maybe just a couple of people who might be going to buy land in Japan or buy a house in Japan, or maybe do business in Japan in general. Might benefit something from this, maybe, where if we're lucky a couple of people might benefit from it. So we're just starting to go through the process. We showed you the process before of buying a house in Japan and what was required to do that. And we're about to go through the process of buying a block of land in Japan, and there's just a few things about it that will surprise people probably that have done the same sort of business in other countries. So for example, we spotted a piece of land about beginning of December, so that's about 6 weeks ago now. Beginning of December we spotted a piece of land that was appropriate for what we want to use it for, and we contacted our real estate agent, because the way it works in Japan is the buyer has a real estate agent and the seller has a real estate agent. So we contacted our real estate agent who we've used before, and we asked him to contact the agent that's selling it and to find out how much it is. So that took a couple of days, and just might start by comparing to, in some countries, you know, if you ask a real estate agent how much a piece of land is, it's not unusual, is it, to get an answer within an hour, is it? Or straight away, look, I'll call you back, boom, boom. Usually they're pretty motivated, aren't they, real estate agents? And if you decide that you want to buy a piece of land, it's not unusual, if you're a motivated buyer and you're ready to go, it's not unusual to sign a contract on the same day, is it? Those of you who have bought land or houses in other countries might have done this before. Find something you really like, yep, I like this, and pay a small deposit, partial deposit, and to sign a contract same day. It's not unusual. Lots of people have done that. But we see it, we like it, we call our agent, we say, can you find out how much this is? A couple of days later, he sends us a fax. And in fairness too, he's a great guy, but it's just everything moves slowly here, and that's the point of this video. And so a fax comes through that has all the details about the piece of land, how much it is, and everything else. So that's all good. Okay, so it was Nissan Yonyaku Man. So let's just say that's $240,000, just to make the explanation easier. So the owner wants $240,000. Okay, so the agent sends us this fax. We contact him straight away. As soon as we get the fax, look at it, contact him straight away and say, please tell the agent that we will pay $210. We're happy to pay $210. And oh no, $200. Sorry. Please tell the agent we're happy to pay $200. And so next thing, he sends us a piece of paper. Now they have this thing in Japan that's sort of like a letter of intent, and it's just a one-page document, and it just says that you're offering to buy this place for how much, you know. So it comes from the fax machine, and so it already says, you know, $200,000 and the address of the place. And so we hit it with our hanko, you know, our stamp. It's sort of equivalent to what you use as signature in another country. We have our hanko, boom, we put our stamp on it, and we fax it back to him straight away. 2 weeks, 2 weeks pass, nothing. And we're not terribly surprised, because when you do business in Japan, it's often like this. It's interesting that, you know, you go to a restaurant and sit down, or go to the entrance of the restaurant, and the staff will appear within about 10 seconds and apologize for the delay. You know, Japanese businesses are famous around the world, aren't they, for giving excellent, extremely fast, reliable service. But when it comes to doing business, it's a totally different thing. And we've made videos previously about, when we made the buying the house video and other doing businesses in Japan videos, that things move really slowly here, and that's seen as perfectly normal, and it's seen as appropriate, right? That when you're doing something really important, you don't hurry it. That you move very slowly, and there's no hurry. So we give them the document that says we're prepared to pay $200. There's nothing at all for 2 weeks, just nothing. And because of course, when you're used to doing business in other countries, usually if you make an offer on a place, you usually get an answer pretty quickly. If you don't get it within a couple of hours, you'll probably get it within a day, won't you? Maybe the owner will think about it for a day, and then they come back to you the next day, and with a counter offer usually. So 2 weeks have passed, we haven't heard anything, and we're curious, so we give him a call and say, how'd we go? And he says, and because it's all in Japanese, right? So the Japanese way of communicating is really different. So we sort of, how are you? And geez, it's got cold, hasn't it? And Dor, how is it? And he says, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we haven't got an answer to our first offer yet, so I don't really want to make another offer when we haven't had an answer to our first offer. And he says, oh, okay. So off he goes, and then a day or so later, he gets back and says, the owner said they want so much per, not Tsubo, land measurement, Japanese land measurement. So they want so much per square meter. And so I'll work out what that is, and that's $209,000, right? So we've said 200. It's listed at 240. He says he wants 209. Actually, what he says was there's a family that own it, and two of them say they're happy to take 200, but the other one wants 209 because that's so much per square meter. So okay. So I say to the agent, okay, tell him we'll give him 210 because he said he'd take 209. We'll give him 210 just to make sure that everybody's happy and that we get it done, right? So that the agent sends through the document, and again it's the letter of intent made out with 210, and we put the hunko on it and fax it straight back. So our end of this negotiation is almost instantaneous. As soon as we get an answer, we give our reply. So our end of the negotiation's instantaneous. Their end of the negotiation, then they got the 210, and that took another 2 weeks then before we got our answer about the 210. And the way it works is that letter of intent has a expiry date on it, and you choose, if you're the buyer, you choose what that expiry date is. So in our case, we said 31st of December because psychologically Japanese people like to tie up loose ends by 31st of December for New Year. So we said 31st of December. But there's no obligation on the owner to give us an answer, and there's no obligation on the owner to follow through with the contract. So in other words, in the meantime, if someone else comes along and offers 215, and that's the other reason we offered 210, if someone else comes along and offers 215, then he can say, okay, and he can accept their offer and sign a contract with them. Or if we change our mind in the meantime and decide we don't want to buy it, then we don't have to buy it. We don't have to sign a contract because we haven't paid a deposit yet, you see. Which basically means that letter of intent doesn't mean anything. It basically means that you spend, in this case, 4 weeks not knowing what was going to happen, whether we're going to get it or not, whether they're going to accept it or not, whether someone else is going to come along and make a higher offer. And the way it works here is if someone came along and made a slightly higher offer, that person could take that offer and sign a contract, and we wouldn't know until the agent called us and said, oh, sorry, it's been sold to someone else. Which is, it's sort of like it's a delaying thing to give everybody time to think. It's the way business is done here. It's that there's always these big long delays between each step, as if it's meant to give people time to think. So what we have to remember when we do business here is you can't ring and say, hey, I want an answer. Well, when you fill out that letter of intent, it's really tempting to make it like 3 days, because you want an answer and you want to get it sorted. So it's really tempted to make it 3 days and force the owner to give you an answer. But probably what would happen if you did that sort of strategy can work in other countries, but in Japan, if you try to put some pressure like that, it might work, but it's more likely that what they'd do is they'd say, oh no, sorry, we can't take that, because they wouldn't have time to think about it. 3 days wouldn't be enough to think about it, and they'd go, oh no, we won't take that, sorry. Probably even if you gave them the 210 that they said they wanted, they'd probably still, oh no, sorry, because it'd be all too fast. So you have to do everything at a slow pace. So now we've got up to, they told us on the 29th or the 30th of December, the agent called us and said that the owner said that they'd accept our offer of 210. So okay, next step's to make a contract. Now, those of you who have bought property in other countries, if you tell an agent you're going to buy a place, usually the agent makes the contract up straight away and comes running around to your house, don't they? They don't sleep until they've got that contract signed. Usually they want to get it done so that the thing doesn't fall over. It's all signed up while everybody's interested. And so 29th or the 30th he calls us and says they've taken the offer, and I said, fabulous, that's great. When are we going to get together and get the contract signed? And he said, oh, well, we can't sort of get anything done now till after New Year, so how's how's the 14th of January, right? Which is 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, which means that all up then we're looking at 6 weeks from when we made the first offer to when the contract actually gets signed. And that means that until the 14th of January, someone else can come along and make a slightly higher offer and they can get the place. I mean, we could also go buy something else as well and the owner could miss out as well, but that's not of concern to us. More of concern to us is this place that we want, we might miss out on because someone else might come along and make an offer. And the only thing that might stop that happening is that everyone else moves slowly here as well. So anyway, where we're up to now is the next step is on the 14th we have to meet this guy, the agent, and he's going to read every clause of the contract to us. Now, in some contracts, in some countries, a real estate contract could be 4 pages long. In Japan, the average real estate contract is about 20 pages long. No surprises there. And he insists on reading every clause. And I said to him, when we bought the house, you read every clause to us then, so, you know, we sort of know. And is this contract the same? And he said, yes. Oh, but, you know, I'm obliged to read it to you. And it's all in Japanese, right? And it's real estate law, which is really heavy going. So he said, oh, I have to do it. It's the right thing to do. And I said, well, how about you just give it to our accountant who can check it for us. And if he tells us it's okay, there's an independent person who works for us. And if he tells us okay, we'll sign it. And I actually said to the real estate guy, I trust him. He's a really good guy. And I trust him. I said, I trust you. I'm happy just to put my stamp on it. And that'll save us a week, you know, instead of having to meet for 3 hours, we can meet for 5 minutes and I'm going to stick my stamp on it and it's done, you know, and then we could do it tomorrow, couldn't we? You know, if you don't have to take 3 hours of your time to do this, we could just get the contract done, I could stamp it because I trust you. No, I can't do that, he said. And you imagine in another country, if you said to the real estate agent, no, look, I trust you, you just fill out the contract and I'll just read the front page that has the address and the total amounts and everything, and then I'll sign it. And who'd argue with you? They wouldn't argue, would they? But in Japan, no, the way it's done is that they have to explain every phrase, and even giving it to my accountant, letting him check it, letting him tell me it's okay, just to save ourselves a week or so, even that wasn't going to be good enough. The only acceptable way to do it is for us to meet on the 14th, and he's going to sit and read every clause in that contract, which, when he did that for the house, took about 2.5 hours. And it's the most boring experience you could ever go through. So if you're going to be buying a house or land in Japan, you have to put up with this, and because psychologists say that the most stressful things that people do in their lives are marriage, divorces, and buying houses, and because they're the biggest thing we ever do. So it's already stressful enough, but then when you have these huge delays when you're trying to do big things like this, it can be really frustrating. So you just have to expect it, anticipate it, be patient, and just go with it. And the temptation is to go, look, tell them, you know, I want to answer in 2 days or I won't buy it. And if you do that, you probably just miss out. They'll just go, oh no, sorry, we can't do that. They'll just see you as being strange and putting too much pressure. So any sort of big business that you do in Japan, I mean, you know, $200,000, it's not that big, but you know, any sort of business like this that you do in Japan, you can expect this is what it'll be like. There'll be lots and lots of time spent, big delays in between each step, lots of thinking about it time, you know. So anyway, hopefully someone's found that of some benefit, and then what we'll do is we will make another video about the next step after the next step has passed. Be patient, it might be a couple of weeks. More videos coming soon.